Welcome to Retail's Most Wanted, the podcast that examines the latest issues related to organized retail crime and how retailers and policymakers are fighting back against today's organized crime syndicates. I'm your host, Marty Carpenter, and this is the first episode in our series on cargo theft, as well as supply chain integrity. Today, we'll talk with Keith Lewis, Vice President of Verisk CargoNet, where he focuses on cargo theft trends, prevention, recovery, and support across the supply chain. That conversation is coming up right after this word from our sponsor. Retail's Most Wanted is brought to you in partnership with LVT, securing physical environments through intelligent automation. Learn more at lvt.com. That's lvt.com. Keith Lewis, Vice President at Verisk CargoNet, is our guest today. Keith, thanks so much for taking some time with us.
Thank you.
All right, for our viewers who don't know Verisk CargoNet yet, what is the CargoNet part of that? And tell us about Verisk CargoNet generally. How does it play with prevention and recovery when it comes to cargo theft?
Sure. Well, Verisk is the company, and we're in the insurance solutions, risk, fraud, all those types of things that fall under insurance services. CargoNet is one of the solutions that we have, and CargoNet came about around 2010, and our focus was supply chain theft prevention, recovery, data analytics, and education for the supply chain industry. And I'd say our best attribute is our recovery support network with our connection to law enforcement in the United States.
I understand that your Q1 2026 analysis shows overall incident volume is down, but losses are essentially unchanged. I think that's interesting. What does that tell us about how cargo crime is evolving?
So, if it went up 200 or 300 or went down 200 or 300, that really wouldn't concern me. What concerns me is the methods, the techniques, and what they're stealing. And if you look at the cost of goods going up, well, everything's gone up. You have tariff anxiety, cost of goods, fuel's up, with the increase, the spike in petroleum, it has an impact on copper and all the things that go along with just about everything we do in manufacturing. So prices are up across the board. And as far as the number of incidents, there's really no rhyme or reason. It's just maybe the bad guy has turned his attention back to somewhere else, or they've dismantled for a brief period of time. But what we're seeing now is the new norm, the 3,500 to 3,800 thefts a year. It's been pretty consistent over the last few years, and we're up over 100% from 2020 on the overall theft number. And depending on which period you look at on the fraud side, we can be up over 1,000 to 1,400% in regards to fraud.
Those are some pretty impressive numbers. You describe impersonation-based theft becoming systemic and scalable. At a high level, can you just tell us, what does the impersonation playbook look like today, and why is it so hard to stop?
It's no different than identity theft for the consumer, the credit card fraud, the phishing schemes and the like. It's the same thing. So impersonations on the supply chain it's so simple as I can call up someone or go on an internet load board and say I'm XYZ carrier and impersonate them when I'm really not. Provide documentation, typo-jacked emails, those type of things, and secure freight off internet load boards. Or the scariest thing for me is purchased MC numbers, where you can go on any of the marketplaces any day of the week and find a dozen or so individuals selling their MC number. And along with their MC number, they're selling their book of business on who they're contracted with to haul, how many years they've been in business, their inspections, they're selling their phone numbers, they're selling their email addresses and everything. So if I go out and buy that company, lock, stock, and barrel, I get them. And if I'm set up to haul with one of the big box stores and I've got capacity to pick up 20 loads today, I can go out and steal 20 loads and then next week rinse and repeat and do it all over again.
So when theft happens, what are the first decisions that most impact the chances of recovery?
it's the sense of urgency on getting this reported. It's a ghost. Everything, it's like the old drug game. Every name's an alias, and all the phone numbers get disconnected. The email addresses go dead. So the sense of urgency in getting recovered. And one thing the bad guys are very good at is delay tactics. They'll use delay tactics to buy themselves more time before you report it to law enforcement. The truck's broke down. The truck's right around the corner. All these things are just delay tactics. And we're a trusting society, and we have a right to be trusting. We have a right to do business freely and security in this country. It's a rite of passage, and we're just trusting by nature. And when the bad guy sends you a picture on AI of the truck broke down on the side of the road, or we're pulled over by a state trooper, or whatever, we're taking that as face value and trusting that individual. Trust no one. If the load is delayed for any particular reason, treat everything with a sense of urgency, almost like it's that threat. It's the code red.
Yeah. So CargoNet runs, 24/7, 365 days a year as a command center. Tell me what that command center does during an active event. What's going on there?
So there's a difference between an active event and then an event. The event could be something that happened 3 or 4 days ago. And there's really not much to do other than catalog it, send an alert out to law enforcement. So if law enforcement does happen upon it in a search warrant or stopping a truck on the side of the road, they can get it recovered. And it happens quite often. We're very successful with working with law enforcement. An active event is the theft in progress. The load was just stolen. And I'll give you an example. Let's say we have a load of computer supplies, and we know by the method that they stole it, that load is going from, say, Indianapolis to Miami. We've got some identifiers on the equipment. We may even be tracking it by GPS. So what my team does is they go to work and they set up basically the virtual dragnet with law enforcement en route. With our connectivity, we've got 15 to 20,000 law enforcement officers set up in our network. We're contacting agencies along the route saying, hey, be on the lookout. This truck is headed your way, and it's headed south, and we just got a GPS ping. It crossed the county line, the state line. It's within this particular radius. It's hitting off this cell tower. We're letting law enforcement know. We're getting that information out to law enforcement throughout the route. And if we've got familiarity with this particular group, we're already in contact with, say, California Highway Patrol. If we think it's going to wind up in Southern California, Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, Los Angeles Police Department, San Bernardino, wherever it's going to wind up, Riverside, wherever it's going to wind up, we're already talking to task force officers with those agencies, letting them know that this is headed your way.
So I understand your analysis points to a geographic shift when it comes to cargo theft. Tell us about that geographic shift, where the hotspots are now, but what's driving the shift and what should companies do differently that are in those hotspots?
So the hotspots, if you look at, just for example, you look at the city of Atlanta, you've got 75, 85 that X through there. And if you look at the dots on the map, the dots follow the X's. They follow the highways. You don't see a lot of dots in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of Wyoming. But what's changed is the shift that we're seeing is a couple of things. Los Angeles used to look like a red basketball. Now it's more like an egg shape because of the technology corridor, and all the manufacturing is moving east out of Los Angeles into Riverside, San Bernardino. So along with that goes the bad guys, because that's where they're going to steal it. But when it comes to the fraud and the identity theft, what difference is, in the old days, they used to steal it from the side of the road, the rest area, the truck stop, the drop yard, wherever. Now with the fraud, it's shifted to more of a targeted type commodity. Instead of it's pot luck. I'll break into a couple trucks at the truck stop. I see what I want, or maybe I followed that truck from the electronics manufacturer in Fontana, and I'm following them. I know it's a whole load of high value electronics. I have no idea what it is, but I know it's worth a lot. To now with the fraud, it's more strategic and targeted. For example, if you look at one particular area in Georgia, that the only thing that's shipped out of that area is copper. So I want to look on the load port and I see if a load coming out of that particular city that has an insurance requirement for $250,000 or more, I know I'm going to get a load of copper. So it's very strategic in nature of, I'm not just fishing in the pond for that one fish, every fish coming out of there is a keeper. So we've seen that shift, and those distribution centers now aren't along the side of the highway. They could be in the middle of nowhere in rural areas of the country. So we're seeing different hotspots pop up as bad guys target certain commodities.
Your data also shows a shift toward easier to fence goods. What does that tell you about how theft is being monetized right now?
Well, what you have to remember, the bad guys good at a few things. The bad guys good at, number one, return on investment. Two, they know our business better than we do. And the most important thing is they're only stealing what the consumer's buying. So if the consumer's not buying something, they're not going to steal it. They're not going to waste their time. So, for example, you look at some type of electronic gaming supplies that are being stolen in October, November. Well, those are going to fly off the shelves in the retail stores, but they're also, the bad guy can steal those, and it's Christmas time, and they know that they're going to be able to sell those very quick. So again, it's targeted and it's specific, and it's an item that they know they can move, as you use the term fence, they can redistribute, put it in a different supply chain, get it back sometimes in a retail market on an online e-tailer, or sell it overseas.
You've said that the industry needs identity verification throughout the shipment lifecycle, not just at the point of tender. What does lifecycle verification mean in practice?
It's the beginning to the end, and it's every shipment. So we'll do, the logistics industry will generally vet someone, their setup. Okay, we're going to give them loads until eternity, or until they have some service failures and we don't use them anymore. Every shipment needs to be looked at with a higher risk factor. Every shipment needs an authentication that this is the right carrier with the right truck and the right driver that's going to pick it up. And again, you get back to purchased MC numbers off the online markets where they've already been vetted, but the bad part about that is the bad guy just bought that company, and you're thinking you're in good hands with that particular carrier when in fact that carrier is a bad guy.
So for shippers and 3PLs trying to reduce risk, what metrics would you track to know if you're improving?
Well, they're going to have their own metrics. Obviously, they're going to have their metrics, but they look at our data for an overall picture of the industry, and they can rate themselves compared to our data. And the thing about the data is there's no mandatory reporting for cargo theft. Just like if somebody breaks into your house and steals your TV, you're not required by law to file a police report on that. It's the same thing on the supply chain side. They're not required by law to file a police report. They're not required to report it to us. But there are certain metrics, and I have a lot of customers that do stack their own thefts compared to the overall industry based on the number of items being sold that they know that they're moving compared to what the overall industry is selling. So there's some ways to look at it, and you're not going to get an exact number. You're going to get an estimation on how well you're doing or how bad you're doing. And
ultimately, you're probably just looking for a trend line in the right direction.
And that's what I tell people. Don't get focused so much on the data, but look at the trends. Look at the methods of what they're stealing. So when I say look at the trends, look at the commodity they're stealing. Right now, the hot commodity is copper. 2 years ago, it was energy drinks. And then in between, we had electronic gaming products being sold or stolen. So look at what they're stealing, not 2 years ago, but what they're stealing today. And then if you're transporting that type of commodity, you're going to know that you need to double down your prevention, your theft prevention efforts.
I'm going to guess that most consumers don't have any idea just how much this drives up ultimately their cost, because this is the kind of stuff that costs businesses a lot of money to prevent it, to deal with it, and to sort of recuperate the loss. Am I right?
You can talk to folks in the organized retail sector, and they can tell you what their shrinkage is. You talk to one of the big box stores, they know what comes in and they know what goes out, and they can do the subtraction, and they know what was stolen. They know what they lost. On the supply chain, it's really the unknown, and that's one of the scariest things is because of the lack of reporting. But individual companies know individually what they're losing. But on the cost to the consumer, it gets baked back in the cost of goods. Think of a bell curve. The theft happens, the chain of loss goes up one side from the trucker to the insurance provider to the third-party logistics company to the shipper to the manufacturer. And then on the other side of the curve, it comes back down and falls on the shoulders of the consumer, because companies are in business to make money. They've got to have a fair return on investment. And this, I hate to say it, but this supply chain theft has become just a cost of doing business.
All right, I'll get you out of here on this, asking for a nickel's worth of free advice. If you could leave our listeners with a simple 3-step action plan to put in place this quarter, what would that be?
I'd say start with the driver's side. Our last line of defense is the driver. Have an action plan in place when that driver shows up at the door. Cameras with video. If you go down the aisle at Home Depot and you see yourself on camera in the copper section, you know you're being videoed. That's the high value. So camera, video. Better verification at check-in. Can I see your driver's license? Look at the picture on the driver's license. Does it match? Go out and look at the truck. Is the right name on the door of the truck? Go out and take a picture of the VIN number on the trailer, the license plates. That is our last line of defense. And if we can start there, we can make a big impact.
Well, Keith, thank you very much for your work fighting back against organized retail crime and cargo theft. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
That's it for this episode of Retail's Most Wanted. Thanks to our presenting sponsor, LVT. Don't forget to hit that subscribe or follow button so you can catch each new episode. We drop a new one every 2 weeks. We're also on X, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Thanks for being with us, everyone. And as always, keep up the good fight.